let's get those big boys going.
We're heading for the Redbull studio in London today to meet Goldie, one of the true innovators and studio masters of UK music. With his distinctive grills, chains and rings, he's an iconic figure, and not just in the music world. He is set to release a new album, The Journeyman, his first as Goldie since 1999, and we're going to talk about sound, the art of collaboration, listening closely in the studio, and get an insight into those golden ears that are so central to his work with music and sound.
Just because we say electronic music, we shouldn't make it the dirty word like we say graffiti. Because graffiti is now adoring the walls of the motor galleries around the world. And graffiti did for art what drum and bass music did for electronic music. It was the dirty word. Drum and bass music is the dirty word. But what comes from drum and bass music, what comes from the hieroglyphic, were the bubble letters, we can understand it once we kind of present it in a very singular way. I've always seen arrangement as being the skill set. Arrangement, which has come through inadvertently through graffiti. Being able to layer and paint, because you know the image is an idea, which is a two-dimensional object on a wall, which in fact has so many layers between that. Now those layers from the light outline idea to the layers in the fill to the final execution of the outline, which is then presented to us within a four-dimensional object, which is causing all of this crazy Escher almost, in the way that Escher art was and everything else. And that's how painting sound. I think sound is something that I see very clearly. But we can't forget one very important thing. You have to apply the soul to the music, man. It's nothing without it. And I hear all this music, and sometimes I'm listening to people say music is math. Yeah, it's math that shouldn't make sense. So please don't let me hear the math when you play me. When I hear a record, I don't want to hear the math. I don't want to hear the fucking wheels turning around. I want to hear the record. I want to hear the sound. And I think that's very important that I hear. You need to give me an illusion. I want to hear the software's here, and it's all the backroom staff preparing the trick. Preparing we've got to make sure that we pull the floor away so the person can fall through before we've all been given, the distraction, and we lose ourselves in music for the magic of it. We have to, because it's the perfect raconteering, isn't it? I think it's like, look, I think the software and the hardware now is, I look at it like a child's point of view, if I run into a sweet shop and the owner's not there, and I put my hand in every jar, and I take as many, what do I take? And I can take all of these sweets, but if I eat them all too quickly, it's like I'm going to end up feeling very sick at some point. And I think it's about taking just enough so he doesn't know it's missing sometimes, with a lot of aspects to this music. Because the one thing that everyone seems to have forgotten about with music is that, look, this is software and hardware. Why does music from the 70s and the 80s, and also especially the lamenting all of a sudden for the 90s all of a sudden, why does it sound so good? Because people are applying the soul to it. It's about what soul music sounded like coming out of two speakers for the first time. A piano, a voice, and a string. That's it. Just three things. But very, very well recorded. But not to the point of over-polishing. I kind of found out that stuff very early on, because I having one foot in analog, because of how I've grown up on music and my love for music, and having one foot on the future, like a Terminator that's been programmed to work with all this software in samplers, and learning very quickly to fill them up. I mean, I was working at a William Orbridge studio in the back room, and I literally went in there with 1,500 quid and said, I'm going to hire the studio with a friend, and I said, I'm going to hire this studio. And I said, we're going to get two, well, instead of using 950s, we're going to give you S1000s, it's the future. Yeah, great, the future. And they got two of them for me. And I never forget the engineer, Mark Rutherford, turning around and going, you filled them up. What are you going to do with? You fill them up. You don't fill these things up. I've been looking at over the shoulder of another guy engineering all my life, to the point where I'm like, you know, sitting in a room like Captain Kirk going, okay, we're going to take it here, we're going to go there. And now I'm, you know, when I sit in a chair to start a project, I'm going to take you through all of these planets. I'm going to go everywhere. And I'll brief the engineer, this is what's going to happen. And here's the diagram on the wall, stuck there. That's where you're going, and that's what we're going to do. This screen that you're looking at is not a screen. It's just a window that goes left and right, infinitely, that way. And what we're going to do is we're going to time travel through this. It's only 100 years we've been able to record audio, man. So 100 years. We've been here for how long? So I can go back and forth in my time machine through software, through these two fucking speakers. I've been so blessed. I can still sit in a studio in Thailand, in my studio, and sit downstairs. Because I wake up very early, I don't sleep much. 4 hours is like my average sleep. 5 is a gift. It's like, wow, thank you. 4 hours is what I sleep. And I go downstairs, and I'll sit in the studio and I'll put a piece of music on. And it could be, you know, my Dynaudios, they sit 120 centimeters, and they're the perfect angle, and I sit, and I sit, and I sit in the perfect place. And I listen to, I have a spectrum of about 2 foot that I can move around, but it's the perfect place to be. And I can sit and listen to Gorecki, or Goretzky, however you want to pronounce him, Symphony of Sorrowful Songs, or I can listen to, you know, to Marley, or I can listen to Steel Pulse or The Stranglers or Punk Record or something, and I just, the way that sound comes to us and the way that we register it, it's still, it has to make my hair stand up. I have to have transparency in the way the sound comes to me. Even on listening to the album, every track has to do that to me. It has to make me feel completely beyond myself, because it's not me making the music. You know, I've got 12 people in my head that I have to listen to. And they can be like Caesar's floor sometimes. They can stab me to pieces and just go, he's not right, let's get him, let's just get him. And I'm like, why'd you wait there before you even pick up that knife? You know what I mean? Before you decide to call me on this. Just listen to what I'm saying first. These two seem to agree with me. You're outnumbered. You know what I mean? Within my own head. I have to deal with a lot of characterizations with, you know, I have certain attributes that are very dark. I have certain attributes that are very light, and I have to deal with them as individual characters in my head. But it's the sound in my head that's what I hear. So it's now software is finally getting to that point where, wow, I can get there a lot quicker now. Any artist coming up now, the young Goldie, and you're asking this young kid what would he say? He'd say, fuck all your complexity. I'm gonna get right in between you and find the thing that you've not found yet. Because that's what you have to do as an artist. You have to find the sound that's not there. Smash it up. Throw it out. Break it, if you like. But do it. Make the sound. Be barbaric. Break it to pieces, if you like. Sleep in the woods. Whatever you want to do. That's what you need to do. But my house your house will be very different and full of very different objects in 20, 30 years' time, musically. Mine haven't changed much. I'm listening to Matheny 35 years ago. I'm still listening to Matheny today. Like today I listen to Matheny. Jose James does a beautiful version of Truth, which is the Bowie track. I said to David, who I try and speak to as often as I can, about greatness or about me being not great and him being the absolute God.